going on, folks? Sean, the Average Angler, coming at you with another great video. Today we're going to talk about something that's actually pretty important and that I think a lot of people don't give much credit to. If you're new to the channel and you like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button down there. Join the Average Angler community where we love to talk fishing, go fishing, buy fishing stuff. Well, because it's fun. All right, so today we're going to talk about line. And I don't want to say choosing line because I've got quite a few different types here. We're going to be talking fluorocarbon today. Okay? I've got several spools here in front of me and from different companies. And I'm going to talk to you about why I choose them. Okay. Well, first, I want to point some things out just so we all realize not all lines created equal and they're substantially different. So let's just do the obvious one first. This is Seaguar. I think it's a Invisx, yeah. 17 pound is 0.015 diameter, right? 0.015, yep, right there, just above my finger. Actually, for 17, that's a really, really thin size. That's pretty good. And here's a perfect example. Berkley Trilene 100%. 15 pound, 0.015. Now that's kind of a good denominator to look at the size to the weight. They pretty well correlate. Here's another example of that. The FC Sniper 12, 0.012. So pretty good representation there, except that when we get over here to the Seaguar red label, and again, we've kind of determined Seaguar runs a little thinner. I forgot what that one was. 0.013. So closer to the 12 pound than it is the 17. And then we look at the 8 pound Berkley Trilene. 0.011. Now you know why I like this stuff for liters. Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about choosing why I choose what I do. And as mentioned, the Trilene 100% fluorocarbon is one of my favorite leaders for spinning rod material, and I think you can probably guess why based on that thickness. Extremely strong, extremely abrasion resistant, very, very good stuff. I use 8 and I'll use 10. It's leader material, okay? It's in an application where I'm not really concerned about having the thinnest or most supple line. And that is one thing with Berkley 100% fluorocarbon. It is a little bit thicker. It's not quite as supple as some of the other stuff that might be a little thinner. And really what it comes down to is the suppleness kind of translates a lot of times to the thickness of the line, okay? And while we're at it, I will say, because I don't know if you guys watch my videos on a regular basis, you'll know I like the Missouri Hybrid and I like Berkley Big Game. This is a copolymer. Berkley is a monofilament. But when it gets cold outside, these lines start not performing quite as well. Now you can do one of two things. You could go down in size, and this one, by the way, is 0.016 for 15 pounds, so it's thicker than all of these, but it gets a little coily also, which is kind of a common problem with monos or copolymers. They get coily. Well, I don't notice the problem much when it's warm outside, and I just think the warmth makes the line more supple. I noticed last week when I was out fishing, that stuff was starting to get a little coily, so I just figured it was time to change. So in its place, I'm fishing my 15-pound Seaguar red label. This is a very good buy, very inexpensive stuff, and I'll put links down in the description for everybody. But I got this off of Amazon on a killer sale, and these are 200-yard spools. Anybody who watches the Average Angler channel knows I'm a little bit anal about spool sizes. I don't like the 165 yards. It ticks me off because you got a bunch of wasted line that you could use for leaders, but I don't use 15 or 17-pound leaders. So I really like this. The Berkley one, you'll notice 110 meters or 100 meters, which is 110 yards. So generally in anything that is 15 pounder up, you're going to get a full spool of line, at least on most of the reels I have, which are 100 size, okay? Tatula 100s, SVs, that kind of thing. I pretty much get two full spools out of a 200-yard filler spool. Now, the Invisx here, I always laugh that they call it Invisx because my experience, quite honestly, is it's not real abrasion resistant. I've had a lot of odd breakoffs in it. Part of that could be that it's thinner diameter. Anytime we have a little thicker line, if it gets a nick, it's going to be less prone to breaking than a thinner line is going to be that gets a nick. So it is what it is. Why would we want to go to a thinner line? Well, if you're trying to, say you're throwing a crankbait or a rip bait and you want to get it down to maximum depth, the line diameter is going to affect that. The thicker line has a little more resistance in the water. It can also take away some action from some of your baits. So it's always a good thing. And this is why I have so many different kinds of line here, right? 12-pound FC Sniper. That is my cranking line right there. 17-pound Seaguar. Well, quite honestly, I've just had this for a long time. I buy the bulk spools. I really got into the Sniper because they gave you 1,200 yards. Seaguar, you got 1,000. The price difference was a little, but it was really, really minimal. Quite honestly, instead of the Seaguar, a lot of times, I'll just use the Trilene 100% fluorocarbon in 15. The diameters are the same. This is probably stronger and more abrasion resistant in my mind. And why do I like the Trilene 100% fluorocarbon? Well, one, this line has been around for a long, long time. That is a 2,000 yard spool. That is a lot of fill-ups, right? The Berkley fluorocarbon has been very good to me. It's not as supple as the Seaguar or the Sunline, but I use it on rigs that I'm not really worried about that, okay? Stuff that casts really well anyway. Jigs, for instance, right? 1/2, 3/4 ounce jigs cast really, really well. My swing heads, where that head is going to be coming in contact with stuff, maybe I want the added knot strength and abrasion resistance on that line where it's going to the line tie. Whereas 17-pound or the Seaguar or Sunline, I'm much more apt to look to those for my moving baits. Now, if you only want to get one, totally understand. But this saves me a lot of money here, believe it or not, because this Trilene 100% fluorocarbon is way less expensive than the Seaguar or the FC Sniper. Now, this is one of those cases where I'm kind of left with not really enough line there for anything. Occasionally, I'll use some 12-pound leader, but not often. But there's not enough line left on this spool to fill another reel. 660 yards was this one, and then the next bigger spool was 1,200. I just wasn't going through a lot of 12 at the time, so I bought a 660. Now the filler spools are great. These are really good to put in your backpack, your tackle bag, your boat, whatever it is. It's a very small package, and there's 110 yards of line on there. So for leader material, these are fantastic. And that's really why I buy these, to be honest with you. If I'm going to be spooling up something and it's not a size I use a lot of, then I'd probably go to the 200-yard spool. They have a 200-yard spool. I'd probably go to that because then I'm going to get 2 reels out of it. Okay. If it's something I'm using a lot of, I'm going straight to the bulk spool because this is way less expensive than any of these other lines. And if I need to go down in line diameter to maximize depth, I'm going to drop a weight size. Meaning instead of 15, maybe I go to 12. Where I was going to use 12, I can go to 10. Berkley's line break strengths are way beyond what they state. I don't know why they do it. Okay, this is much closer to like an 18 to 20 pound. It's kind of irritating, but as long as you know that about the line, you can make educated guesses on what it is you need, okay? For a spinning reel, if you're outfitting it with the line, I always go to 6. The 8 gets a little coily on a spinning reel, but for leader material, I go to the 8. And whose spools a whole spinning reel anymore with fluorocarbon. We stopped that quite a while ago. I was probably one of the last ones. Now, if it comes down to Seaguar and FC Sniper, it's pretty much going to be a price thing for me. Okay, I think they're both very good lines. I always look at what's it costing me for 100 meters. That's really what I care about, okay? Because that's going to allow me to fill spools, figure out which one's giving me the best value. Then we have the red label. Really, if you're a recreational fisherman and you're just looking for a decent fluorocarbon line that has all those attributes we're looking for, right? It's supple, it's thin, it does what it's supposed to do. The 15-pound Seaguar red label, or whatever pound you need in red label, is fine. You're going to get a little bit more stretch in the lesser expensive fluorocarbons. The exception of that may be the trilene. It is lesser expensive, but it's also bigger diameter. Little more stretch in it, little more forgiving. Great reaction bait thing. I use the 15 for jig fishing in the winter. That's the rod I just changed. I put it on 15-pound for my jig rod. Most of the time I find in the winter, the fish aren't fighting quite as hard. You don't need to be quite as heavy with them. And sometimes using a little bit lighter line will get us a few more bites. And who doesn't need a few more bites in the winter? I don't know about for the rest of you guys, but around here, they just don't bite the same way as they do in the summertime. It's still fun. We can still catch a lot of fish, and we can make educated choices about our fishing line, okay? For a long time, all I fished was Berkley 100% fluorocarbon. At one time, I was sponsored by Berkley years and years ago when this stuff first came out. The line has not changed. Now that I'm not sponsored by Berkley, I still love the line. It's always been solid. You can get it just about anywhere. I love the ones, these aren't even filler spools. I call them filler spools. These are refill spools or something. They are 110 yards. But for me, for leader material, for the boat, they're fantastic. They take up very little space. The line's extremely strong. Ties knots really, really well and holds to your braid to leader knots. Okay, I use an FC or FG knot. They come out tiny, even though that line is a little thicker than its competitors for the same weight rating. It's good stuff. Okay, I hope this helped you guys out. I'm Sean the Average Angler. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one.